Okay, in this video, we're going to deal with a very important question, a very typical question, one you'll see a lot of. And this question refers you back to a certain part of the passage. Here it gives us these specific words, new story. And it says in the context of the passage, what does this mean? Now, a few things. Sometimes you will have a line here. For instance, maybe it will say line number 4. And then it's pretty easy. Oftentimes you won't have anything and you'll have to go back to the passage and actually find this term, new story. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the passage and find new story. It is very important not to say, oh, new story, what is this closest to? Oh, a popular narrative. Narrative equals story, something is new, it's popular, E is the answer. That's taking this way too literally. That's most of the times their trap answer, that literal answer. So again, we need to go back to the passage. And when we go back to the passage here, we're looking, of course, for new story, and there it is. But we don't just want to look for it or underline it in this case. We want to blot it out. And the logic here is you want to think to yourself, well, what would go into the slot here where we've eliminated new story? And so to answer that question, we really have to understand the entire passage. And that's why it's so important, of course, to actively read the passage first and try to create meaning in your head. So assuming you've done that, we can say, well, what's the story that needs to get told here? What's this blank to get told? Well, it's this idea that people are changing the way they perceive events that happened in the past. The debate is in archaeology. And there was one way of looking at or interpreting the past. Now that's changing. So for any new way of looking back at the past or interpreting events to get told. And so now we've come up with our own answer. And that's very, very important. Because if you can come up with your own answer, put that down here, you're more likely not to be trapped by the wrong answers. And of course, you're more likely to pick the correct answer. Now, of course, your own answer doesn't always match up with the answer choices, but it's a great place to start. And again, you'll avoid getting trapped as easily. So we go back to the answer choices. We know we have our own answer. Our own answer is a new story is a different way of perceiving events. And just like that, there's our answer C. Now let's look at A plausible myth. Okay, so something that's believable, but is this a myth? We're talking about a dispute or a debate between two sides in archaeology. So we're not dealing here with myths, but we're dealing here with ancient history. B, a scientific dispute. Well, that's what's going on here more or less. That's the overall meaning of the passage, but we want specifically what does new story mean. It's not a scientific dispute that's being told. So we're going to get rid of that. And then D, a shift in the way a discipline conducts research. Well, it's not necessarily that this discipline of archaeology is conducting research differently. It's the way it's perceiving past events. It's the way it's thinking of what happened. And so again, the answer is C. And to go over the important parts, we want to always look for the important part in the passage itself, get rid of it so it doesn't distract us and we're not prone to come up with a literal match here, but come up with your own words. What must new story mean in the context of the sentence? And once you've come up with your own answer, then you want to match. And that took us to C, and there we go.